When we talk to you in a week from now,
Yeah.
what would define a successful NFL Combine?
We made it. We got out of here unscathed. Really just looking forward to getting in front of these players. We had a good set of interviews last night. Obviously we'll get the medical here. Those are really the most important things, just to get in front of the players, get the medical, and then have a chance to kind of build some rapport with the staff that I'm looking forward to.
Ian, you mentioned on the radio that the decision with Kirk was in part about fairness to Mike. Does that mean you feel like you need to clear the decks is the wrong word, but create a place for him to say, you're our guy, we believe in you, this is your team?
Yeah, maybe I meant in fairness to Kirk and Mike, his agent, not Michael Penix. Yeah, so
okay.
So thank you for allowing me to clarify that. Yeah, just in fairness, out of respect for Kirk and Mike and Mike McCartney and his career, just felt like that was the best decision for us.
Where do you stand on Penix? And obviously his health is a question mark, so you do have to have something as a backup quarterback. Is Kirk still an option? And with a re-sign, how do you approach that?
Yeah, we won't re-sign Kirk, but Mike, we're just really concerned about him and his health and making sure that he's as healthy as possible going into OTAs and going into the season.
Walk us through the decision with Kyle Pitts. When did that kind of formulate for you, and why was that a good choice for you?
Yeah, it started to kind of marinate through the interview process of how are we going to be able to keep a player of his caliber and make sure that we could use the league's mechanisms in order to do so. It's the time frame, I guess, that we have here where, you get hired and then you have to make a big decision like that. Just felt it was best in the best interest of us to use the franchise tag on him now to allow us some more time to evaluate and see things forward.
Back to your first year in Chicago, you guys had 5 picks, similar to what you have now, but it turned into a lot more. What did you learn throughout that process that you're hopefully going to take in the draft in April?
Yeah, to use every method as humanly possible in order to manufacture picks. I'm not saying that there's a chance that we may end up with just 5, right? But I hope that that's not the case. And like I shared with our scouting staff last week, this is going to be the last year that we ever have 5 picks. Like I've said before, I love picks. That's going to be a part of our philosophy in order to have as many swings at the plate as we can.
So with minimal picks, what's the biggest need?
Yeah, just creating more depth, right? Creating more depth on this team. Obviously, we have some really good players at top, but with a limited number of picks, we've got to create some more depth and make sure that we hit on these picks.
I'm sure you've had to triage your priorities, but how much have you looked at Michael Penix and evaluated him and thought about where you are and where he does stand in terms of this team's future?
Yeah, you evaluate the games that he's played, but again, we understand. I'm sure you realize this too. There's more than just playing, right? And that's the part that I haven't had a chance to get to know him much. It was fun for him to be able to come into the building. He came into the draft room last week to kind of introduce himself in person. So we got a chance to talk a little bit, and I told him, hey, we're in here trying to find you guys some more teammates. So again, looking forward to getting to know him a little bit more and seeing how he does with his rehab.
What's your contingent here? What does that look like in the rooms when you're interviewing the players?
Yeah, I want to say there's 10 or so people. Obviously, Kevin, Matt, coordinators, position coach, all of our higher-ups on the scouting staff. We have a video in there as well. So I wouldn't say it's as many as I've been in, a little bit lighter group, but those are the people that are in there.
And I ask, because we see organizations decide not to come to the Combine. Why do you see the value of coming to Indianapolis?
I personally like as many touch points to a player as you can. Again, other teams do it their way. This is going to be our way. And again, as many times as we can get in front of the players, get to know them, ask questions, ask follow-up questions, we're going to utilize those resources.
Now that you're a general manager and it's your process and you get to interview the players, what does it look like for you this week?
It's been fun. Nothing's really changed, though, in the sense of we brought the same process that we had in Chicago, just our scouts asking a couple icebreaker questions just to kind of set the mood, and then our coaches really take control of the interview, right? It's their chance to get to know the players. We've had a chance to either see them at the All-Star games or at the school. This is really important for the coaches. Really, this is their introduction to the players, so we want to make sure that they utilize that opportunity.
So what's the best icebreaker thing they've said?
Oh gosh, this week I don't know. There's been so many. It was a whirlwind, man. We were in there from 7 to 11 with no breaks last night. So maybe ask me that a little bit later.
What, if any, conversations have you had with Caden Ellis, and where do you stand on his situation?
Yeah, I won't get into that. I feel like for Caden, he's a free agent, and yeah, we'll see how that goes moving forward.
Is he a guy you want back?
He's a guy that we're obviously evaluating and thinking there's a lot of linebackers in this market, and I feel like we've got to really look at our cap situation and our roster moving forward.
With Mike, health-wise, is he, like, where in the process is he?
He's where he should be, right? I feel like he's doing a really good job. He's coming in every single day. He's doing what he needs to do, and we're confident that he's on track.
Does this process more, Ian, help you lock in on a player or cross them off your board?
Really good question. Both. I think you can have that. I'll say, like, with this, it just helps confirm some of our questions. It answers some of those questions that we may have had going into it, and then it makes you feel a little bit better about how you felt about the player from coming out of the school, or how the scouts felt about the player coming out of the school. When you get to see him face to face, and that checks, that makes you feel good that we're on the right path.
What entices you about this draft class specifically?
I feel like where we're picking, 48, 79, 114, I feel like there's a sweet spot in there. I haven't figured out where that is yet. I'm going to rely on our analytics and IT crew, who they call themselves the Nerdy Birds. I'm going to rely on them to help with figuring where that sweet spot is. But I feel like it's probably within that range.
Back in the day, a lot of the questions with the guys would be, how would they react with money in their pocket and their bank account? Now these guys have that with the NIL, so you got to find out, do they love ball? That's the big question. How do you find that? How do you dissect the importance of the game to these individual players?
Yeah, now you don't have the luxury, or now we have the luxury of knowing how they kind of respond to money, because a lot of these guys are getting paid in college. Again, so if they're doing what they need to do, if they're coming to our level and they're showcasing their talents, it feels like money usually doesn't change them anymore as it did back in the day. But there's other things that we continue to try to assess and figure out.
How has AI helped you and your staff?
We're working towards that. I feel like it's ever evolving. It's trying to be a little bit more efficient in our process, maybe asking some questions, and maybe it can spit it out and answer a little bit quicker than what we had in the past. But that's one of the things that we're moving towards, trying to figure out ways in which we can utilize that moving forward even more.
What's your general thought in terms of signing guys who may be franchise-type guys for you, early versus waiting? This is sort of a big picture question and sort of a direct landed question. Obviously.
Yeah, I think it's case by case, right? I feel like that's the easy way to say it, but it is case by case. I think you got to take into account the player, the value, the position, maybe the marketplace. All those kind of come into factor. But yeah, I'd say those things.
Where does wide receiver rank in terms of your priorities for this team at this event, especially?
Yeah, it's a premium position, right? I feel like at this event, it's my job to kind of look at every single position, but definitely going to make sure that we evaluate the receivers as well.
Nearly everyone in this group here covers the Bulldogs on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
When did you spend time in Athens with Kirby, and what are those players usually traditionally bring into the NFL?
Very smart, disciplined, tough, resilient. Those guys have to weather the storm. A lot very similar to what it was like at Alabama over the years. He brought the same DNA over to Georgia, so you kind of know what you're getting when you get a Georgia Bulldog.
What is Darnell Mooney's health situation, and is he a guy you expect back next year?
Yeah, that's another thing that we're working through right now, and we'll decide that here shortly.
Anything else?
Just anything that James, or anything from the league, anything about the process with James Pierce?
Yeah, obviously it's unfortunate, but I'm just not going to comment on an open legal matter right now.
Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, if I talk to you a week from now and I say it was a successful week, you'll say yes because?
Because we got in front of a bunch of players, both in informal sessions, formal sessions, on the grass or turf, if you will, and we're getting to know them. And I think so much of this is there's resume, which is the tape, and we can see the tape, but there's a lot that we need to get to know the person. We got to get to know how to coach this person and that type of thing. So with all the interviews that we have scheduled, which there's a lot of them, I know by the end of this thing I'll have a better feel for each one of these guys.
How can you tell if they love ball?
I mean, you certainly ask questions and try to get to the heart of that. I think you can oftentimes see a lot of that on tape, how a guy hustles and the effort that comes out on the tape. Also, you have to give credit to our scouts, and they're in the schools. They're talking to their coaches. They're talking to the people around them and can give a very good synopsis of the player and who the player is on the field, but also what that player is like off the field as well.
This morning, Ian talked to us about the franchise tag for Kyle Pitts. Why was that exciting for you as a head coach, someone who has a strong history with the tight end position?
Yeah, obviously Kyle's a guy that I think very highly of, both professionally and personally, so excited to work with him. Obviously his talent is evident. You can see it on tape and what he's been able to do in his career to date, so a guy that we're excited to work with.
There's a lot of things that I guess you could give me a simple answer for when I ask you, what are you looking for in a player to be a part of the Falcons organization, but what are you looking for?
Well, I think aside from the physical gifts, which we all know, I mean, it's that we want them to fit who we are, fit our culture, fit the building up in Flowery Branch in terms of the people we bring in there. We want them to say, each person you bring in there, that says something about who you are. And we want guys that, like we're talking about, love this game, that are willing to push themselves for the betterment of the team. And I think that's part of this process, is understanding those guys and seeing that if there's a fit.
With Cousins being released and Penix injured, who's your quarterback right now?
Well, what's today's date? February? Yeah, so we don't play for a little while. So I think with any roster type of decisions, as you look at it in February, it's so different a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. So we'll work through all those things. Like I've told you guys, Mike is working very hard and attacking his rehab, which is the most important thing he can do right now. But we'll work through all those things.
What's the profile of the next quarterback you bring in here? Do you feel like you need a veteran guy in the room? Are you looking for a developmental guy? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's something that Ian, myself, Matt, with the entire personnel crew, the coaching staff, we discuss all those things as it pertains to every position, because I think you have to look at every roster cycle with what's available to you and what you can add to your roster, but we feel really strongly about that position right now.
Do you feel like, Michael, if when healthy, is your starting quarterback, or do you have an open position and you've got to find an answer there?
Yeah, I'm not big on giving out positions in February. I think you guys know how I feel about Michael, and I'm excited about his trajectory. I also know he's focused on his rehab, which is the right thing to do.
Kevin, what do you enjoy about this week?
Getting to see a lot of old friends. This is really a lot of times the only time in the year that you get to meet up with people that you've coached with over the years. Sometimes you don't play them in the fall, so this is one opportunity to get in front of them and check in on them, see how their family's doing and those type of things. So having done this now for a little bit, there's a lot of people out there that I'm excited to just go see, check in on them, and catch up.
Now that you've been able to work with Ian for a little bit and he believes so much in the draft process, what do you like about his approach to this week and really the draft in general?
Yeah, I think process is the word there. Ian does a great job with the scouts, with the coaches, explaining exactly how we're going to attack this offseason when it comes to player acquisition. He's very, very detailed, so he's done a great job of sticking to the process.
You and Ian and Matt, I guess, have to make some quick decisions about players, not just Kyle and Kirk, but guys like Caden, potentially Darnell Mooney. How do you microwave that process when you take a new job like this?
It's a good question. I think you obviously there's a lot of tape to be watched, and that's something that we've done really around the clock, if you will, down in up in Flowery Branch, and just spending a lot of time with the tape, understanding the roster. I think there's time to do it. Now, that, like you said, there's some decisions they have to make sooner than later, but like anything, it's putting our heads together, rolling up the sleeves, getting together, and having some tough discussions about roster decisions, because it's not all easy.
When you have a young QB, just what's kind of the early stages? How do you approach trying to learn who he is?
I think, shoot, I don't care if you're a quarterback, running back, you name it, young and old. We're constantly growing, coaches, players. So when I think about young quarterbacks, I think about none of those guys are finished products, just like none of us are finished products. So we're constantly having a growth mindset in all that we do. So it's my job, and I take this part of my job seriously, to help our players grow, regardless of what position you play.
How much have you spoken with him so far, though? I'm sure it's
Michael?
Yeah, Michael, so far.
Yeah, a lot. None of it about football. Don't worry, Roger. All of it's just checking in on him, the person, and he's in, if not every day, every a lot. And so I get to see him, and he's doing an awesome job of rehabbing.
A lot of us here also cover the Georgia Bulldogs, and I know you, obviously, with Chubb in Cleveland. What about Kirby and the culture in Athens that kind of sets that apart?
Man, if you're coming out of Georgia, you're a Bulldog, you are tough. You're mentally tough, you're physically tough. And that's been my experience coaching those guys. And certainly I know with the guys that are coming out now, I know that's still the case. I think Coach Wilson, he does an amazing job with his program, how he pushes his players. And I think that just is so obvious when you just put on the tape. You just put on the Georgia tape and you see how those players play down in, down out. It's very impressive.
Michael will be at least limited through parts of OTA in the offseason. How much, if any, concern does that give you for whoever your quarterback is? Learning a new system and time on the grass is going to be kind of at a premium.
Yeah, we're excited to work with all of our guys. There's going to be a bunch of guys that are dealing with injuries, some that will be more limited than others, but there's a lot that you can get accomplished in the spring on the grass, but even in the meeting rooms, in walkthroughs. I think you can make leaps and bounds in the spring.
Ian said this morning that we will never have 5 picks again. We need to have depth. When you take a look at the roster so far, where do you think you're most deficient and you have to improve depth-wise?
I feel good about where we are. I know if there's 32 teams, everybody feels like they could use a few more guys at a bunch of different spots, but I feel good about the guys we have. I feel really good about the plan that Ian has in place. And then I feel really good about when I finally get my hands on these guys and we can coach them.
However much input you have on which guys y'all select, how much of your opinion will be based on here and what you hear from them here, and how much is based on the film and just what you see?
I think good question. I think when in doubt, go with the tape. You have to totally believe in the tape and what you're seeing, and then this is a piece of it to understanding the person, understanding how they learn, understanding what makes them tick and those type of things. Because ultimately, like we talked earlier, you're bringing guys into your building. You want them to be a good fit for who you are, who your football team is, what you believe in. So that's a lot of this is just getting to know these players.
The fact that you only have 5 picks, what do you enjoy about the process of finding a diamond in the rough, so to speak?
Well, 5 picks right now. We might have more. That's one of the fun parts, for me as a coach. I always like trying to find those guys, like you said, diamonds in the rough. Who are the undrafted guys even that you can add to this roster? Anybody can tell you those first-round picks, right? So spending some time on the back end, I think our position coaches, our scouts do a great job of identifying some guys that maybe in the 7th round, maybe come as a part of the undrafted free agent process. Those are guys that can affect your winning and losing on Sundays in the fall. And I've been around a lot of guys over the years that you mentioned the diamonds in the rough. One guy just retired was Adam Thielen. Adam was a tryout guy for the Minnesota Vikings way back when and had an amazing career, for the Vikings and just was a guy that was at the rookie minicamp. He was a tryout player, so I'm always eager to find guys that maybe other people aren't looking at.
Did you consider, based on your relationship with Kirk, trying to figure out a way? I know it's not just your decision, but did you think maybe we should find a way to try to get Kirk back here in some circumstance, or did you feel like it was time to move on from where you sit?
Yeah, we talk about all those things. Myself, Ian, Matt, put our heads together, talk about all types of roster discussions and decisions, and I feel really comfortable with the decisions that we're making moving forward.
You said you're trying to get to know the guys. Don't you know them already, though? Is that a gotcha moment, trying to see if they're telling the truth, one of these things? And how much of that is the communication when you have them alone, as opposed to you diagramming their play on the whiteboard, having them educate you on what they know?
Yeah, no, not a gotcha at all. Listen, it's speed dating, right? But in those 15 minutes in the formals, or really 18 minutes, if you will, in the formals, I do think you can get a feel for a player. You can get a feel for who they are. We have it written up. We have what the scouts say the person is, so it's not like you're completely meeting someone for the first time, quote unquote. But I do want to see how they respond to the tape that we're showing them. I do want to see how they respond to maybe the install that we're giving them. I think that's a window into how they learn. I think that's important for us as coaches to understand the best way to reach our players, because ultimately when we bring them in and they're our guys, we want to maximize their ability, and we got to understand how they learn. Number one.
Not asking you to throw anyone under the bus or give specifics in this instance, but how many times in your career has a player just completely surprised you in those formals?
Good question. I take a lot of notes, so I could go back in my notes and I can answer that if you give me time to get in my notebooks and Flowery Branch. But no, I can think back. I can think back to Matt Ryan's interview way back when. So there's interviews that stick with you. Guys that are still playing today that have been have had great careers, and you can see in those meetings a glimpse into what has made them great already.
Okay, fine. You said Matt. How did Matt surprise you?
I wouldn't say he's surprised. He just, as you guys know, as well as I do. He aced it. That shouldn't surprise anybody.
When you're going through the process with these guys and that speed dating, is it more to convince you that they're our guy or take you off?
I don't think you need to convince. I think it's, again, information gathering. Let's find out about these players. Let's find out everything we can about them, because these are big decisions that Ian's making. So we want to go armed with as much information as we can.
Speaking of information, just kind of off the topic, but do you use AI at all? Has that been part of just the growing process and make things easier for you, whether it's organization, planning, anything like that?
I'm old school. I'm like the paper calendar guy. So no.
Okay.
I'm sure somebody is.
Your offensive mind feels like it's in a good place right now, but you've got some veterans there. How do you start thinking about the future of that position when you have maybe other more immediate needs?
Good question. I think Ian's got a great handle of those type of things where you have 1 foot in the present, 1 foot in the future, and certainly everybody wants depth at every single position. I get that part, but those are the type of decisions that will come in time.
Everyone obviously, everyone obviously approaches this week different. Some people bring their whole staffs along, some people leave some behind. Why is it important for you to have a pretty large contingent here?
Yeah, I just believe in getting in front of the players. I think there's value in that. I think I believe in our coaches. I believe in all of our coordinators, position coaches. I want them to have the ability to coach these guys, even if it is for that small amount of time. I want these players to get a feel for who we are and who our coaches are, and then I want our coaches in turn to do the same. So I just think there's value in that. Obviously, you can do a lot over virtual calls nowadays, and we will continue to do those all the way through up to the draft. We'll have our 30 visits of bringing players into Flowery Branch, but in the meantime, I just think there's value in getting in front of the guys.
Is there any update from your chair on the James Pierce Jr.?
Yeah, no update.
What's next? You get through the week. You feel like with a new staff and a new front office that you guys are swimming upstream and just trying to catch your breath a little bit?
I feel really strongly about where we are. Tommy Reese is meeting with the offensive staff as we speak, so he's making sure that while we're down here, they're getting work done. Brick's doing a great job. We still have to find a replacement for Mike Rutenberg on our staff, so we still have some work to do while we're also down here trying to get to know these players.